Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to NFL Nexus. We are about to embark on a highly detailed, incredibly immersive breakdown of a franchise sitting right on a razor's edge. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like on this video, leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the team, and hey, consider becoming a channel member to really support the deep dive content we do here. Okay, let's dive into this, our 11-plus minute documentary-style explainer on the exact anatomy of a team desperately trying to rewrite its history. What we are about to uncover is the blueprint of a front office pushing all their chips into the center of the table.
How do you build a champion? Seriously, I want you to really stop and think about that ultimate question. In the National Football League, the margin between lifting the Lombardi Trophy under a storm of confetti and going home empty-handed in January is microscopic. I mean, it is agonizingly, painfully thin. It's not just about having the absolute best quarterback on the field. It's definitely not just about having the fastest, most expensive receivers. Building a champion requires a ruthless, highly calculated, and often incredibly painful deconstruction of your entire roster. It requires every single man in that building, from the absolute highest-paid superstar with guaranteed millions to the lowest-paid, undrafted rookie fighting for his life, to be completely, entirely obsessed with one single unified vision.
And that brings us to a truth that echoes through the concrete halls of Paycor Stadium. Defense wins championships. Now pause for a second and just let that sink in. This isn't coming from a grizzled, old-school defensive coordinator chewing out his linebackers. This is coming directly from Ja'Marr Chase. One of the most explosive, dynamic offensive weapons in the modern era of professional football is the one dropping this anchor quote. This single philosophy has become the narrative spine driving Cincinnati's entire offseason. When your alpha wide receiver, the guy who literally makes his living catching deep bombs and outrunning defensive backs, makes this his absolute battle cry, it creates a sudden, massive emotional shift in tension. The entire organization has been put on notice.
Section 1. The Chase for Perfection. Star Power and Preservation.
So let's talk about the absolute top of the mountain. That elite tier where millions are guaranteed and every single movement, every tweet, every workout is heavily scrutinized by the media. To survive in that environment requires a totally unique mindset. But as the off-season programs began, a shadow kind of fell over the practice facility. It was the elephant in the room, Ja'Marr Chase's voluntary absence. You know how this goes, right? The media immediately began to swirl like a hurricane. Was he unhappy with his contract? Was he holding out? The absence of a superstar creates this massive vacuum of suspense, literally forcing everyone to question his true motivations and what it actually means for the locker room chemistry as they prepare for an insanely high-stakes campaign. But let's cut completely through the noise and look at the actual hard facts here. This is not a player who has just gone AWOL. While the camera crews were aggressively focused on his empty locker in Cincinnati, Chase has been highly engaged. He is working out relentlessly away from the team facilities, maintaining absolutely peak physical condition. He just hosted over 300 kids at his annual pro camp, staying deeply rooted in the community and giving back. But most importantly, he is communicating directly with the front office and his teammates. He is operating not as a selfish distraction, but as a true, cold, calculating veteran who knows exactly what his body needs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer maturity behind these words. It's just giving my body a rest. I'm not doing anything wrong. This is a player looking at the grueling, brutal reality of a deep Super Bowl run and recognizing that championships are absolutely not won during OTAs in May, they are survived in the freezing cold of January and February. This is a complete masterclass in physical preservation. He is strategically protecting the franchise's most valuable offensive asset, himself, so that when the winter hits and the games actually matter, he is an unstoppable force. The plan is clear. Chase is securing his foundation, but while he was quietly, methodically preparing his body for an absolute war away from the facility, the front office was not resting, not even close. In fact, they were engineering a massive, landscape-altering earthquake behind closed doors. Section 2, a blockbuster defensive shift, the 10th overall pick. Let's talk about a move so unprecedented it literally stunned the league into complete silence. And this brilliantly illustrates just how aggressively Cincinnati is attacking this window. The Bengals gave up the 10th overall pick in the 2026 draft. Do you realize how valuable that is? That is a cornerstone piece you build an entire decade around. In return, they received absolute, unadulterated destruction. Superstar defensive tackle Dexter from the New York Giants. They looked at the draft board, they looked at their shrinking Super Bowl window, and they pushed all their chips into the very center of the table. Giving up a top 10 pick proves unequivocally that they are fully 100% committing to that defense wins championships mantra we talked about earlier.
The shockwave of this trade hit the locker room just as hard as it hit the fans. Listen to Jamar Chase's genuine reaction. "It was very surprising. Honestly, I didn't see it coming, so it was a great pick for us." Think about the significance of that quote. This is the exact alignment you dream of as a general manager. The superstar offensive player immediately and publicly endorsing a wildly aggressive defense-first front office move. It shows that the entire organization, from the general manager's suite high above the stadium all the way down to the wide receivers room, is moving with deadly synchronization toward one singular goal.
The trenches are set. The multi-million-dollar superstars are locked in place. But the harsh, cold reality of the NFL is that millions of dollars and star power only get you a ticket to the playoffs. To actually win the whole thing, you have to dig down into the dirt. You have to leave the penthouse suite and walk down into the gritty, unheralded, merciless world of the rookies, the guys whose names definitely aren't on the marquees yet.
Section 3. Drafting a hidden gem. The 7th round steal.
Championships are so often quietly won in the darkest, most stressful corners of the late-round draft room. Let's move to and see how this builds a complete defense. Take a look at this incredibly wild physical transformation. Landon Robinson arrived at the Naval Academy as a 220-pound linebacker. By draft day, through sheer unyielding discipline, he had literally morphed into a 285-pound interior defensive tackle. He completely rebuilt his frame, essentially carrying the speed and twitch of a linebacker right into the body of a massive trench warrior.
The results of that physical transformation are absolutely terrifying for opposing offenses. Robinson's disruption profile is genuinely elite for a late-round guy, 6.5 sacks and 8.5 tackles for loss in his final collegiate season. Because he miraculously retained his linebacker agility at almost 300 pounds, his burst off the snap is completely explosive. He gets under the pads of much larger, slower linemen with elite leverage and undeniable play strength. He is a literal mismatch nightmare hiding in plain sight at the very end of the draft.
But his most valuable trait, it doesn't even show up in a standard box score. Motor. Noun. A player's relentless physical effort and competitive energy on every single snap. That is exactly what Landon Robinson brings to the field. And that undeniable motor is precisely what the Bengals coaching staff is desperately looking for in a modern, versatile defense. They want a guy who simply refuses to quit, a guy who will chase down a screenplay 50 yards downfield because his pure effort is weaponized.
But what about the bubble? We've talked about the guaranteed millions of the stars. We've talked about the draft day optimism of the rookies. Now we must violently pull back the curtain and look at the brutal, incredibly unforgiving reality of the NFL. Because for every Dexter Lawrence and Jamar Chase living the dream, there are dozens of men who are waking up every single morning absolutely terrified that today is the day they get a phone call from the front office telling them to bring their playbook to the coach's office.
Section 4. The roster bubble grind. Fighting for survival.
This is the darkest, most intensely stressful part of the championship blueprint that nobody on the outside really wants to talk about. These are the fringe players fighting just to keep their absolute baseline football dreams alive. 10%. So the crucial point is, that is the stark, truly terrifying number facing a guy like Andrew Coker. It is massive narrative whiplash going from the absolute security of the superstars down to this. Coker is staring at a 90% chance of failure, a 90% chance of his entire professional career hitting a brick wall before it even really begins.
Just closely look at his journey for a second. It is a precarious, mentally agonizing timeline. In 2024, he enters the league as an undrafted free agent with the Raiders, only to be cut. Devastating, right? In mid-2024, he finally finds a lifeline, signing to the Bengals practice squad following an injury to Orlando Brown Jr. You think he made it? But then, in 2025, the crushing blow of being waived again, spending an entire season totally stuck on the practice squad. For 2 agonizing years, Andrew Coker has been constantly bouncing on the absolute edge of the abyss, fighting tooth and nail for a permanent spot on a 53-man roster.
And what exactly is he fighting for? $885,000. This is the league minimum contract Coker is so desperate to secure. Now, when you contrast this with the staggering, guaranteed riches of a player like Chase or Lawrence, the emotional weight here is just staggering. For Coker, this isn't about buying a second mansion or investing in a new business. This is literally about survival. It is about validating his entire life's work since he was a kid playing Pee-wee football. It is the desperate, raw grind of the roster bubble where every single dollar is earned in blood, sweat, and absolute anxiety.
Coker's mission for this August is incredibly specific and unbelievably high stakes. This is his cinematic final stand. He absolutely must earn significant preseason reps. He has to step on that field and flawlessly prove he can provide reliable, rock-solid depth behind Orlando Brown Jr. and Amarius Mims. He's locked in a violent, direct, man-to-man competition against Cody Ford for the swing tackle position, and if he fails to make the Bengals, well, he has to put enough perfect tape out there on film to convince one of the other 31 NFL clubs to step in and save his career from ending.
Every single snap matters. That is the microscopic margin of the National Football League we were talking about at the start of this explainer. One missed block, one tiny false start, in a totally meaningless August preseason game in the fourth quarter when the stands are half empty, that could literally be the difference between a multi-year career and going home to get a regular 9-to-5 job. It is a terrifying pressure cooker that breaks even the strongest men. This right here, this stress, this grind, this is a hidden cost of building a champion.
From the cold, calculated physical rest of a superstar like Jamar Chase, to the utterly shocking, blockbuster acquisition of a game wrecker like Dexter Lawrence, all the way down to the brutal, gut-wrenching desperation of Andrew Coker fighting for his absolute football life. The blueprint is completely laid out. The pieces are actively moving on the board. If you enjoyed this deep dive explainer, do not forget to subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this video, comment your thoughts below, and absolutely consider becoming a channel member to support this series. The stakes have never ever been higher for this franchise, which leaves us with the ultimate lingering question. Is this the exact formula that finally brings a Lombardi Trophy to Cincinnati?